Well, hello. Oh, didn't attach my microphone before I spoke. Here we are again. It's Friday, 2 o'clock. Did any of you want to hear me say it's Friday, it's 5 o'clock, it's crackerjack? Gosh, showing my age here. Anyway, it's lovely to be back live with you. As always, I'm just going to look across at my iPad and make sure that you're seeing everything that I hope you're seeing. I've remembered to put it within arm's reach this time. It's there. Ooh, could do with improving my hair a bit. Sorry about that. I did blow it dry this morning, but I'm lacking the skills of my hairdresser, so my fringe is a bit all over the place. But never mind, you haven't come here to look at my appearance, have you? You've come to craft, and we're going to be doing quite a lot of that in a minute. I tried a new microphone position when I've got the camera facing down onto my desk for the crafting. I tried it out with my team last week. No, Monday. Gosh, was it only this week? It was Monday. And it seems to be better, so I will be trying that in a minute. So I'll be happy to take your comments on that and see if it's a little bit more consistent. But meanwhile, welcome and hello. Mary's here and she says hello to everyone. Hi Mary, you're very welcome. Sandy's here all the way from Lincolnshire. Have you got snow yet, Sandy? I think it's coming in, isn't it? I've seen lots of photos from friends all over the country who've got snow. We haven't got anything here. We had a tiny little bit of frost on the grass this morning, but it had disappeared by about 9 o'clock. The cars were a bit icy and it's very cold, but no snow, and actually mostly blue skies and sunshine, which is really nice. Rosie's here. Hi Rosie, lovely to have you, and so is Belinda. Sandy said yes, she had snow last night. Gillian's here. Hi Gillian, lovely to have you. Rosie's saying hello to everyone, as is Gillian. It's so nice to have lots of you here. That's really, really nice. Well, what have I got to tell you? All sorts of things. I'll try and give you a quick roundup of news, mostly Stampin' Up, but not all, because I'm going to start off with a public service announcement. There is always card fraud going on. There has been an awful lot of it recently, as some of you may know. Some of you may have been affected by it. In fact, I know some of you have, which is awful. Because the country is bringing in two-factor, I think it's called, authentication. I can never say that word. Later on this year, the fraudsters know that if they're going to commit a fraud, now is going to be easier than later. So there has been an enormous increase in fraud on credit and debit cards recently. There's been one which I think is quite widely known about now, involving Amazon purchases or purchases of Amazon gift cards, and there seems to be another one going on. I know of somebody who's had her bank card used for that, so not a credit card but a debit card. And what seems to be happening is there's a very, very small, under £1 in value, payment gets taken, obviously in the hope that you won't notice it, and then normally that is in preparation for an awful lot more to be taken. They do it once to make sure that they can get in and that it doesn't get noticed, and then they take something bigger. So in general, we should all be checking our bank statements, we should all be checking our credit card statements. And we do that as a matter of course, but I must admit recently we've been doing it a lot more frequently, you know, not just waiting for the paper statements to come through, but actually looking on at least a weekly basis at our card statements online to make sure that there's nothing there that we don't recognise. The banks and the credit card people are pretty good at picking up fraud, but they don't get everything, and you might see it first. So just in general, please be careful. There are some horrible people out there, and I would hate you to get your cards compromised. It feels horrible on a personal level, and on a practical level it's a pain in the neck, because you have to wait for your new card to come through. You have to tell absolutely everybody that you pay things with that your details have changed. You always forget, well I always forget to tell somebody, and then a payment doesn't go through. All because there are criminals out there. But I just thought, as I've heard about this happening to quite a few of my friends today, I thought I would just let you know as well. So it's nothing to do with Stampin' Up, it's just kind of a general fraud that's going on. Let me see what the comments are here. Lorraine's here. Hi Lorraine. Sandy says she's had that actually happen to her today. Her credit card company's called her. They tried to take 41p out. Well, I'm really glad it got picked up, Sandy. I'm so sorry for the hassle, but I'm really glad that your credit card company is on it. That's obviously, it sounds obviously like exactly the same fraud that I was talking about, and I'm so sorry that happened to you. Belinda says she checks her banking app daily now since she was caught out in the Amazon fraud. Yeah, I know you were, Belinda, and it was horrible for you. I'm just seeing if I've missed anything. I don't think I have, at least not yet. Yeah, it's really, really horrible. So that's my public service announcement for today. Going more to Stampin' Up matters, a couple of reminders. My Dandy Garden Suite sampler, which is a £10 bundle of products from the Dandy Garden Suite. The last chance to order those is now. I will be closing orders for that suite sampler a week today, next Friday. And so if you would like one, then let me know. You can send me an email and let me know that you would like one, and I can give you details of the payment if you don't know already. I know it's been going out in my newsletters and so on, so you may have the information already. I know some of you have already ordered them, but I won't be offering it again after next Friday, so that's your last chance. In a sec, when I turn the camera down, I will just very quickly show you what you get, and it's a chance to get small amounts of lots and lots of the consumable products that are in the Dandy Garden Suite, rather than having to buy a whole pack of card, a whole pack of paper, whole pack of embellishments and so on. So just a week to go on that. And there is also just a week left to book my Garden Wishes card class. I will, again, when I turn the camera down, I'm going to just sneak peek you one of the cards from that card class. There are 4 cards in there. They're all fancy in one way or another. You get the Garden Wishes stamp set, and if you'd like to upgrade it to the bundle, you can also get the dies, which will come with your packs for making all the cards. You'll have the stamps. All you need to provide are blocks for your stamps and ink pads. I'm just using one single ink pad for the whole class, a black Memento ink pad, but if you prefer, you can use other colours. If you'd like information on that, then send me a message or an email. My email is handmadeathome, that's all one word, handmadeathome@hotmail.co.uk. It should be on the details for my Facebook page as well. And the last day to book that is a week today, next Friday. So bookings are coming in nicely for that. I think it's going to be a fun class. So I'll show you a sample for that in a minute. And finally, I just wanted to let you know, again, a lot of people I know will know this already, about shipping delays. Unfortunately, we've had a perfect storm of a whole series of delays for all sorts of reasons to our packages arriving when you order something. You'll probably remember, I think it was just before Christmas, or it could have been just after Christmas, I'm not quite sure, but around Christmas time anyway, Dover was closed, the port of Dover was closed, the Channel Tunnel was closed, the French border was closed, which of course caused complications for shipping. UPS, who deliver our parcels, were, along with all sorts of other delivery companies, absolutely swamped with parcels because it was Christmas and there was lockdown coming and everybody was ordering stuff online rather than going out, so they had much more volume of parcels to deliver. So that, with the port delays, obviously caused a huge backlog, and then roll on January the 1st and Brexit. So that has led to a lot of delays as well. You may know that our Stampin' Up warehouse is in Germany, which was never a problem when we were part of the EU, and it isn't a problem now. But what happens now is, instead of the stuff coming straight from the warehouse to the UK without having to worry about customs, it now has to go through German customs leaving the country and through UK customs arriving in the country. And you can imagine the potential for delay there. The paperwork is all in hand, is all correct, and is not causing a problem. But there are delays while customs officers learn all the new procedures. There is a backlog because it's slower now getting stuff through, because everything has to wait to clear customs twice. And additionally to that, in the first week of January, the EU decided that was the time to upgrade their customs computer system. Now, I don't know, maybe they couldn't do it before the 1st. But anyhow, basically nothing moved through customs at all for a whole week. So you can imagine the backlog of stuff waiting to come through customs when they finally had their computer system up and running again. So that's a very long-winded explanation to say to you that, unfortunately, instead of, at the best of times, a parcel would leave the warehouse and would be delivered here to the address within 3 working days. Now it's taking more like 12 working days. I'm afraid that is the impact of coronavirus, increased volume of trade, and Brexit. There is nothing at all I can do about it, and I'm as frustrated as you. I'm waiting for parcels. Things are starting to speed up just a little bit, but we are getting, when I track parcels, I can see they're sitting in customs for 2 days, and then the next day they're in the next customs and they're sitting there, and I can't track anything else that's happening. But I just know there are delays, so I give you huge apologies if you're waiting for things. And if you're thinking about ordering, you will get your stuff, but there will be a bit more of a delay than you are used to, and I'm really sorry about that. But I think it's better to understand why than just to get frustrated, so I'm hoping that that helps a little bit. I'm going to check your messages. Nope, nothing else, I don't think, anyway. Let me just refresh, but I think that's all we've got. Yeah, that's all. Okay, you've been listening with rapt attention, haven't you? Right, so I want to know how your week has been. I want to know what you're crafting, and you can type all those answers in while I fiddle around with the camera and turn it down to my desk. Pam is here. Hi Pam. Pam says hello to everybody. It's lovely to have you, Pam. Right, so I'm going to cover up the lens of my camera so you don't get seasick. I've got a yellow post-it on it today. And I'm going to move the camera. I'm going to adjust all the settings, and I'm also going to move my microphone. So bear with me while all those things happen. Belinda's saying the UPS tracking system seems to have gone into meltdown. Yes, I know, Belinda. It's a problem. I really, really feel for them. They're trying so hard, and it must just be an absolute nightmare. Antriana is here. Hello, Antriana. Welcome. It's lovely to have you. Sandy's had a good week in general. She did manage to make a couple of cards this week, and she started online Pilates today. Oh, well done. My yoga classes went online at the beginning of the pandemic, and I started off doing them live on Zoom, but my schedule has changed because my whole business has changed so much that I now find it's easier to watch the replay on them. So I'm not actually doing them live anymore, but I do them at a weekend now, which works really nicely. Okay, so let's see how we're doing. Let's put my light on. It's a bit brighter, hopefully. See if I can get this straight. This always takes a minute, so look away if you're prone to motion sickness. Let's see if I can move this over just a little bit. Get the cables out of the way. Okay. Sandy says it keeps us supple. Yes, it absolutely does. Rosie taught a class this morning, picked up her new sunglasses, and now she's doing... I'm waiting to hear what you're doing. I know you're here on a Facebook Live. Are you doing something while we Facebook, Rosie? Sandy said she tried to track something on UPS and it asked for her country of origin and the UK wasn't listed. That's not reassuring, is it, Sandy? I tracked something this morning and the UK was there, so they do know we exist, never fear. I think it's just one of those things, isn't it? The world's gone a bit weird at the moment and we're just all having to be very patient. Okay, Candy's here. Hi, Candy. Right, so I promised to show you the Dandy Gardens sweet sampler very, very quickly. So if you can collect it from me, you get all this for £10. If you'd like me to post it, you get all this for £12. So there are some sheets of card in the colours featured in the patterned paper. I'm trying to fan them out so you can see them. There we are. So 5 sheets of card. You get some of these beautiful printed card bases, 5 printed card bases, and they come with envelopes which have a printed flap and the most beautiful printing on the front. They've got this frame and then the dandelions on there. You get 1 sheet of each design of paper in the designer series paper pack. and you can see now that those card colours just coordinate perfectly. And I'll try and turn those over all in one go. Rosie's diamond painting. I keep looking at these diamond painting kits, Rosie. I know you've done quite a lot of them and it does look like a lot of fun, but I haven't tried one yet. Okay, you get 2 meters, or I think it's 2 meters of the braided linen trim, which is beautiful. And you get 5 of these super cute ladybird trinkets. They actually call them ladybug trinkets, but we all know they're ladybirds. And let me try and put one closer to the camera. I'm hoping I'll have to just wait for my iPad to catch up until I can see what you can see. Don't know how well that's showing up. Oh yeah, I think we're there. They're absolutely gorgeous. These attach brilliantly with a mini glue dot. A mini glue dot just fits. There's a little hollow on the back and it just fits over that hollow and holds them on really firmly. I haven't had a single one come adrift. So that is the Dandy Garden Sweet Sampler. Let me know if you'd like one. Last day to order it is a week today, next Friday. And then I'm just going to move those out of the way and sneak peek you one of the cards from the Garden Wishes class, which again you need to book by a week today. So this is a twisted easel card, and I'll probably have to move it because I don't think the camera will pick the whole thing up very easily. So this is it's not quite 6 by 6. I think it's 5 3/4, so that it fits into a 6 by 6 envelope comfortably. So there we go. So that's one of the 4 cards that you'll be making in the Dandy Garden class. So it comes with the stamps and all the materials to make the cards. You just provide an ink pad and blocks for your stamps. That's the back. So there we are. That's all the things I had to show you today. Right, so today's theme then is cutting images out of your patterned paper. So I'm going to pull in some patterned paper. Oops. Now you may have seen this if you watched my Facebook lives when I was doing the launching the catalogue last week. So I've got that sample was there. This is a sample that those of you who are watching who are on my team have seen, and in fact we made this in my team meeting on Monday, but I'm going to make something different live with you today. But I had a couple of extra samples to show you, and I'll leave them there just while I get everything out. There we go. Sandy's asking, the sweet sampler, Sandy, is £12 for me to post it to you. It's £10 for people who can collect it from me. I can't take card payments for the sampler because it doesn't come from Stampin' Up, it comes from me. I order in the products and then divide them up and send them out, and I don't personally process credit card payments, so it has to be a cheque or a bank transfer. But other than that, just let me know you want one and tell me how you want to pay and I will do it for you. Rosie's saying diamond painting is, I think she's saying diamond painting is cute. Perhaps she's saying these are cute. Let's hope so. Anyway, so here's one sample which you may have seen last week, and I'm going to be making a card using this paper and then 2 other ones using different papers as well. But on this one, all the flowers are cut from the patterned paper. Obviously this is a patterned paper layer here too. I did add a few die cut card pieces to this one, but there's no stamping on that card at all. This is one of the Love You Always boxes. They're in the new spring catalogue, so it's like a large matchbox. If I put my hand against it, you can see it's sort of a good, is it 4 inches, something like that? Yeah, 4 inches long and nearly 3 inches that way. And it's nice and deep. And we covered it in patterned paper, but the part I wanted to show you was the tag, where we actually had a punched circle from the paper and then cut out around the edges of the flowers to give you a cutout. Hi Hannah, nice to have you here. Thank you for saying it's lovely. I will stay safe, you do the same. Lovely to see you, Hannah. And thank you, Belinda likes the card. Brilliant. I hope you'll like the next one. So that's a couple of extra samples. Let's move those out of the way. So I'm going to make 2 cards today which involve flowers, but very different kinds of flowers, and then one which is not flowers at all and is possibly slightly more masculine. So this paper, I can never remember the name, Paper Blooms. This is free paper. You can get this just for buying £45 worth of crafting goodies. And you can pick this during celebration. So until the end of February, this might be one of your choices. And I'm just going to fan out the paper a little bit so you can see. I've already chopped into quite a lot of this. But there are 6 different double-sided designs. I'll turn it over in a second so you can see them all. And you get 2 sheets of each. It's 12 inches square. I can't get it all under the camera. Let's just turn that over. No, that's not going to work actually, is it? Because I've got the card backing in. Let me take it out. Let's see if I can do this the other way. There we are. So it's largely big flowers on one side and either a smaller pattern or leaves or a geometric pattern on the other side. I'll put that one around that way. There we go. That one's leaves. So I've only got this one pack. I haven't got a new pack to show you. But that's the pack I'm using. And the sheet in it that I'm going to use for the card I'm going to show you is this one, which you can see is very well chopped about. Just move all that paper out of the way. Now I'm going to do a little bit of cutting live, and I have done a little bit of cutting in advance because you don't necessarily want to sit and see me do loads and loads and loads of cutting out. But I will do a little bit so you know that it was me. I'm not a house elf or something. There we go. Are any of you crafting along with me? Sharon says, Sharon, hi. Lovely to see you here. Oh, do you know, Sharon, I don't know how long it is since I've seen you. Far, far, far too long. When all this is over, I would really like to sit down and have a cup of coffee and a long chat because it has been too long. Right, so here we are. So what I've got for this is I've got a card base and some layers which coordinate with the colours on the paper. And every pack of our paper lists the colours on it, as well as listing them in the catalogue in the catalogue in general terms, the main colours, and on the pack there's all the colours. Rosie misses Sharon too. Yeah, Sharon is one of our Stampin' Up friends. So here we are. If you look at the packaging on all your paper, here you will have a list of colours. So I picked out Night of Navy and Rococo Rose as the main colours that I was going to have on my card, plus Whisper White. And I've cut some layers here with the Ornate Layers dies in readiness. And then I took this sheet of the Paper Blooms paper, and I roughly cut out some bits that I thought I would like to use on my card. So I've got a couple of leaves, I've got a couple of little flowers, which weren't as bad to cut out as you might think. I've got a green flower there. This was one of the bits that's on the edge of the paper, like this one, so it's an incomplete design, but quite often you can work those in and you just have this bit overlapped by something else, and that way you don't have to waste the bits around the edge. And I've got this large flower and another pink one there, so I'm going to bring in my scissors and cut these out while I talk to you a little bit about fussy cutting. Yeah, several messages there about we're all missing seeing each other. All right, so let me move that up a little bit, try and get you to see it as best I can. So I have a few tips for fussy cutting. First of all, sharp scissors, which I know is really obvious. But I don't know about you, my house is full of scissors that don't actually cut very well, but I can't throw them away because what a waste it is to throw away a pair of scissors. But really, have a really nice sharp pair for fussy cutting. These are Stampin' Up paper snips, and I know I would say they're great, but they really are great. They're sharp right to the ends. The blades are just the right length for snipping things like bits of ribbon or small pieces of paper like this. They're absolutely perfect for cutting. My other tip about scissors is to keep the blades clean. I'm hoping you can see that these do not have glue all over them. I clean my scissors several times a week because they do get gluey, and what I like to clean them with most of all is rubbing alcohol. Now you can buy that on the internet. It's also sometimes called isopropyl alcohol. I get the 70% one. You can get 70% and I think 90%. 70% is absolutely fine. It's 70% alcohol and the rest is water. But what I really like to use are these. I get these on eBay, but I expect pharmacies sell them as well. And this is called a pre-injection swab, and it's got 70% isopropyl alcohol in it. And this is just a little bit of cottony fabric soaked in the alcohol, and I keep these in my crafting bag, and then I can always de-stick my scissors. And this has just got the right amount of alcohol ready to de-stick a pair of scissors. They're brilliant. They'll also clean any glue off your clear blocks or off your trimmer. So every craft bag or craft table should have some of these. They're very cheap to buy. They're absolutely excellent. Or you can use a bit of cotton wool or a bit of kitchen paper and a bottle of isopropyl alcohol. That works really well too. So I've got my non-sticky scissors, which are nice and sharp. And then when I cut, I angle them. I don't know if you can see, I'm angling them kind of, I'm right-handed and I'm angling them slightly to the left. So I'm not holding them upright like that. I'm actually angling them slightly like that, which gives me a slightly better edge to my cut. And then I'm moving the paper. So I'm closing and opening the scissor blades, but I'm not turning my hand with the scissors in. I'm turning the paper. And that allows you to get much more consistent and smooth cut marks. The other thing that I try to do is to leave a very narrow border around the image I'm cutting out. So in this case, the image is on white paper. So as far as I can, I'm leaving an even white border around the paper. Now in a minute, I'll show you the finished image. And it's not very even at all because I've gone a bit wobbly, probably because I'm talking and not fully concentrating on my trimming. But when you leave a border, particularly if you then put these onto card which is the same colour as the border, you get what's apparently a perfectly cut out image because the little border disappears. So I'm going to put that on here and hold it up, and hopefully the camera will focus on that. And I'm hoping that you can see there's a little white border around. Let me move it forward a bit. And actually, because I haven't done it perfectly, that border is not awfully even, but I think I've pretty much avoided cutting into the pink of the flower. And if I then lay that onto a white layer, it's not very flat of course because it hasn't been glued, but I'm hoping that you can see that actually it looks quite nicely cut out, because what you focus on, particularly when everything else is on there too, is the pink rather than the white. Rosie's asking if I always leave a border. 99.9% of the time, yes, Rosie, I leave a border. I know there are times when I don't, and I'm trying to think what my rule on that would be. I guess really if I was mounting this on blue card, I probably would try not to leave a border because you can see all the inconsistencies. Having said that, it's very difficult, as you can see, to cut perfectly evenly. So if I'm cutting into the pink, I'm probably going to end up with an uneven outline to my flower compared with what I want. So that's why if I can, I do leave a border. So I'm going to cut another one out now in just the same way. So I'm angling the scissors. Sometimes if I've got a really tight corner like this, I'll come out. So instead of turning and cutting all the way back around that paper, I've let go, if you like, with my scissors, and I've come back to the outside, and I'm going to cut into that tight space, which is a little bit easier. Again, I'm trying to leave a border. I'm trying to do it fairly quickly because although this is all about cutting out paper, I think there's probably a limit to how much audience interest there is in watching it happen. I quite often sit and cut out paper with either Netflix on or in the evening in front of the television. At the moment my husband's watching the snooker. I have absolutely no interest in the snooker at all, but in the interest of marital harmony I quite often sit with him while he's watching the snooker, and I'll perhaps be cutting out I just have a tray on my lap that catches all the bits, and I quite enjoy doing this. Some people don't like cutting out. If you really don't like cutting out, then you know you don't have to do it. But if you would like to use your patterned paper, pick papers where we have either cutting dies or a punch, which will cut out the images for you. And more Stampin' Up are bringing those out now. And the next two papers I'm showing you do have those available if you would rather do that than wield your scissors. Rosie says she could watch me all day. Could you really, Rosie? I think if you're one of those patient people, cutting paper is probably something you enjoy, or cutting out things. There we go. Sharon, you're going to make me blush. Sharon says she could listen to my lovely voice. Thank you so much. You know when you hear a recording of yourself and it doesn't sound how you think you sound? It's a bit like that with this. I always check the sound. I don't listen to the entire video, but I do check the sound in a few sections when I upload it to YouTube afterwards. And I always think, you know, who is that woman impersonating me? 'Cause in my head, that's not what I sound like. Mary says there's something soothing about it. I don't know if that's my voice or the paper cutting, but either way, Mary, if you're soothed, I'm very pleased. We all need a bit of soothing at the moment, don't we? Life's a bit of a nuisance, really. I went to the post office this morning, and it's only my local tiny little post office in the village. Well, it's a hamlet, really. And I queued outside in the cold for 15 minutes. There was one customer in there, and it's tiny, so you can't have too many people in there. And yeah, I could have done with a little bit of soothing at the time. I tried very hard not to take out my impatience with the lady when we got inside. All right, so that's my last two bits that I've cut out. So I've got lots of bits here. I quite often end up with more than I'm going to use, but we'll see today. And the first thing I tend to do is to lay everything out and then decide where I want to put things before I glue anything. So let's just play around with these. I think I might quite like this one with the petals just layering onto that dark blue layer. This one is a bit sad because he's lost an end there, but that's okay because I think we can cover it up. So if I do something like that, that will work. And I have got a bit of a cheat sheet here, which I will show you in just a minute when I've got things laid out. I don't think I'm doing it quite as on my cheat sheet, but something like it. I might cut that blue stem off in a minute if it's just going to get in the way. So here we are. I don't know, something like that, I think. So what I'll do is I'll play around with them. That probably all wants to come down a little bit, having said that. Although I am going to put a sentiment on here, so I need to leave a little space. I'll get them like that, and then when I'm happy, I'll take a photograph with my phone. Oh, mobile phones are the most wonderful thing, because you can just quickly snap off a picture and then look at it instantly. With my camera, I used to have to, you know, either look at it on the camera, but it was really difficult to see, or I'd have to upload it to the computer, and then I wasn't crafting where the computer was. So anyway, if you've got a mobile phone and you can take a photo, that is brilliant. And then what I will do is have that by me, and then I can move all of these off and then put them back how I had them. Now, because obviously I'm filming on my phone, I couldn't do that today, so I have instead, I took a little photograph earlier when I arranged them. You can see these bits here I haven't actually got cut out yet, but now I have, so I've put them together in nearly the same way, but not quite. So I may move these little flowers around, I may leave them like that. I'm just drinking some of my tea. All right, so I'm now going to slide those off. I'm going to slide out my layer inside and bring over my glue, and I'm going to start to layer things up first. Sometimes I put my cutouts onto the layer they're going on first, but in this case, because I think probably that big flower I'm going to want to overlap on two layers, I want to see where they sit together and not have them moving around, so I'm going to glue those down. I love these dies, they're so detailed, these ornate layers. So I'm going to put those onto my card base. My card base is just half a piece of A4 folded in half, so nothing fancy about that at all. And then with my flowers, I'm obviously going to start with the ones that are going to end up underneath, which first of all is this big flower, and I think I am going to snip off the bottom of the stem because I don't think I'm going to need that. I don't mind if the leaves peek out, but I don't really want the stem. Oh, Sharon likes to keep it. Is that your photo, is it, of your card, your layout of your images? Yeah, if you think you might want to do it again, that is certainly a good plan. Okay, I need a little bit of glue just under the ends of those petals where they're overlapping. I stopped my glue a little bit short there. Okay, there we are. Oh, Sharon says she likes to keep her miscuts as they can always be poked under a gap you don't want. Yes, absolutely. That is a very good point. Yes, anything that's not absolutely perfect, you definitely can pop in a gap. So this is my one that was on the edge of the paper. So it's got that half petal cut off because that was where the paper edge came in. And I'm just going to hide that, I think, with this pink flower. There we are. You'd never know that had a petal cut off now. I'm not sure I'm going to pop that green one. Probably down there, I think, but I'm going to get these leaves on first and have some flowers sitting over the top of them. Now, in some cases we have stamps with images that coordinate with the papers, and if that's the case, it can actually be really effective to stamp some images on, in this case, my white layer, and then add some cutouts over the top. Or of course you could stamp the images and cut some of them out and have some of them stamped on here, which is another version of what I'm doing. But sometimes you don't have the stamps, sometimes there aren't any stamps that are exactly the same, and in that case patterned paper can be absolutely perfect. I love this little cluster of flowers. It was a little bit fiddly to cut, I must admit, so I only did the one. These tiny ones weren't as bad as I thought they were going to be. So is anybody playing along? There we are. So that is actually pretty much like my guide photo. So that's my card front, all but a sentiment, and I picked out thank you. I send a lot of thank you cards, so I quite often make those rather than birthday cards when I'm doing something like this. That's the thank you from the Art Gallery stamp set, this one down here. And in readiness I have cut a very little piece of white card, and I've got some Night of Navy ink here. I thought that would be a nice bold colour, and it's the same dark blue that is featuring on the rest of the card. Mary saying, why aren't my fingers covered in glue? Well, give it time, Mary. There's plenty of time for them to get covered in glue just yet. Partly it's practice, but they do get covered in glue, and when they do, I use a baby wipe or one of those little alcohol swabs to clean them off. Okay, so that's not very straight, so let's just turn that over and use the emergency side. And I'm actually going to pull it towards me and try and get it in the middle this time, so I'm sorry if that's off your screen. There we go, that's better. Lorraine says she likes fussy cutting, but she's put off buying the crocodile stamp in the mini catalogue because of all the teeth and scales. She wishes they brought out some dies. Yes, yeah, there are certain things that you think, no, I'm not going to try and cut that. All right, so I'm going to trim this to size, and then I'm just going to cut some flag ends in that. And when I'm doing that, I like to put it on my grid paper, mark the center point. If you don't have grid paper, why not? But if you don't have grid paper, you can of course do that with a ruler. And then once I've got the center point, I snip in at the center, and then I snip from the point to that cut. Let me put that on the mat, and hopefully you can see what I mean. So you can see I snipped into the center, and then I've snipped from the bottom corner into the middle on that first cut line. And then I'm going to do the same on the top one, and that gives you perfect flag ends or banner ends, nice and even. And then I'm going to pop that on here, and I probably should have left one of these slightly unstuck so I could fit that just underneath like that. I wonder if it will. What do we think? Do we think that will slide under? I think it just might. Oh yes. Oh yes, it does. Good. That's lucky. That was not very well planned. So Sharon's fussy cutting whilst listening to me and George Michael. Yeah, he's sitting the other side of my craft room actually, chatting away out of earshot, Sharon. I used to work in a hotel in Bournemouth. I did a degree in hotel and catering management, and I did an industrial stage working in a 5-star hotel in Bournemouth many moons ago, in the 80s, when Wham were really, really, really big. And they were staying in the hotel while they did a concert, and I actually served morning coffee, although I'm sure they wouldn't have called it morning coffee, but coffee anyway, to George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley in the lounge. And Andrew Ridgeley was absolutely lovely. He was really polite and friendly and nice, and George Michael was arrogant as anything and treated me like absolute dirt. So there you go, that's my famous person story for today. Having some more tea here. Oh, that's good. It's getting cold. I must drink it up. Right, so that is my first card. Now I will pop an insert into that, but I won't do that now on camera because time is going on. I think I'm going to overrun today. But I am just going to quickly show you the decorated envelope. As always, I credit the lovely Rosie who's watching with this, because she sends a lot of cards, and I've been very fortunate and received a number of her beautiful cards. And she often decorates her envelope flap with some patterned paper, and it just looks so lovely. So this piece of paper is about 6.5 inches by 2.5 inches. Sharon says she's jealous, and oh no, George, how rude. Yeah, he was. He might be much nicer now. I think he was very aware of how famous he was, and he was only young. I don't know how old he was, but not very old. Yeah, but very sad when the way you think somebody is going to be is not like that. It was an interesting place to work. I mean, I was there for a year, and we had a lot of famous people. Ones that stick in my mind were George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley and Elton John. I'm a great fan of Elton John's, and David Essex as well. So yeah, that was interesting times. So that's my matching envelope flap. Rosie loves doing this, she says. Yes, sorry. Yes, Sandy, yes, you're quite right. Yeah. Rest in peace, George Michael. I was completely forgetting that. I don't know how I could have done, but I was. All right, so that is my first floral card. Now, I did bring in some rhinestones. Does this need rhinestones, ladies? What do you think? I'm going to tidy up the rest of the mess. You tell me if it needs a couple of rhinestones, and I will go with your judgment. You know how I love a rhinestone, but sometimes you have to tell me to step away from them. It's gone very quiet. So I'm having some more tea. I'm going to get out the next things. I'm still waiting to see whether you think that that needs a few rhinestones. I think it does actually, but I will take my cue from you. So Belinda's talking about glue. She has Carol's voice. Carol is a colleague of ours, telling her not to use too much glue, and Rosie's telling her to never send out a naked envelope. Both good advice. Lorraine's saying yes, thank you, Lorraine. You knew I wanted to add them, didn't you? Okay. Once again, I've forgotten to put my take your pick tool. I'm going to use my craft knife. So these are the teeny tiny rhinestones. I don't know, sometimes I add them as flower centres, but more and more at the moment I seem to be kind of scattering them around, so I'm just going to go with the scatter effect, I think. I'll go with 5. I think an odd number is always good, isn't it? You artistic people will know that. There we go, they're on there. So if you thought I should not add the rhinestones, too late, I've done it. Okay, so rhinestones are there. That is that card. I'll put it to one side and bring it back at the end to show you. And now I'm going to bring in some other bits. So some of you may have the Whale of a Time paper. You may have some other things from that suite as well. It's one of my absolute favourites. Oh, Lorraine, you said the scattering was good. Thank you. Good. I'm glad you approve. So I've got a little packet of bits here. If you haven't seen this paper, obviously there are pictures of it in the catalogue, but oh my goodness, it's so pretty in real life. I'm going to be using this one. This is the last I've got. I've had 3 packs of this so far, or it could be 4, and that's the last bit of the turtles I've had. So that tells you how much I've used the turtles. And let me just show you some of the patterns of this paper. Lots of this has got images that you can cut out. I love this one. I'll show you the flip side of them in just a minute. I love this one too. This one, the whale punch will actually punch out the whales for you. So if you don't like fussy cutting, that is a solution. Jellyfish. Oh no, look what I found. Treasure. I've got one more sheet of that after all. This is a different whale paper, but the punch will also punch out these whales. And I think that is all 12 designs. So quickly turn them over and flip through the back sides, which are lovely for contrast. I really like this one with those tiny fish. So they're all watery images, seaweed, waves, fish, and then this is either fish scales or fishing net. There, and the other one was that other whale pattern I showed you. I mean, this one is a card front on its own, isn't it? Cut it in half, you've got 2 straight away. It's just absolutely beautiful paper. So what I've done for the card today is I'm going to be cutting out some of the turtles. And if you got my monthly card class for January, you will have had a pack to make up this card. They are now arriving or have arrived, so I'm hoping I'm not spoiling any surprises by showing you this one. So on this I've used 2 sections of 2 different papers here for the background, and then I've cut out a couple of turtles and added them to the front. Rosie's saying her next class uses this as a shaker card. Oh, that sounds lovely, Rosie. Really nice. You ran a class this morning, didn't you? I saw a comment about it and then it had gone from the screen before I could read it out, but I know you were running a class this morning. I hope it went well. Projects are absolutely beautiful. Belinda's saying odd numbers of rhinestones, definitely the same rules as in photography. Yes, you're quite right, Belinda. All right, so I've got various bits and pieces here. I think this card's going to come together quicker than the last one because I'm not doing as much cutting out, because I kind of went into cutting out detail with you. So I have a Pacific Point card base, and I've done what I call a sideways base, landscape I think is the proper term for it. I've got a layer of Granny Apple Green card on there, and I have embossed this using the Seabed embossing folder, and I'll lift this up in case you haven't seen it. I'm hoping the light will catch that so you can see with the shadows the beautiful embossing on this. There's a little tiny starfish in there, and another one here. There's lots of weed. There's the teeniest starfish in the world down there. All kinds of different seaweeds. It's just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So I've done that. I've also embossed an extra piece here that I will put on the insert at the bottom, although I probably won't do that on camera, simply to save a little bit of time. But that's going to go on there. I have, prior to going live, I've die cut a few bits of weed here. These I did with the smooth sailing dies, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to arrange these. We'll see in a minute. I might snip them up a little bit. Yeah, Rosie's saying this embossing folder is so detailed. It really is. And I cut these and then I put them through the subtle embossing folder, which if I lift them up, I'm hoping you can see they just looked a little bit flat. So I thought about crumpling them up and then unfolding them. I wouldn't have done that on camera because I know that's painful for some of you. But in the end, I put them through the embossing folder, the subtle embossing folder. It's just given them a little bit of texture, which I think is a bit more interesting. So I've got those to arrange, and then I've cut out some turtles. So I'm going to use probably 2, but I've cut out an extra one. I've got a little one I'm going to use on the front, probably use that one on the front. And then I'm just going to cut out one more here. And I've put my scissors down somewhere. There they are. Belinda says she loves the whale sweet. She's stocked up on paper because she can see herself returning to it frequently. Yes, I'm not, I say this quite often, I'm not somebody that particularly loves cute images. But some of the images in this are cute, but for me in a good way. I mean, these turtles are really quite cute. The way they're sort of smiling, I think they're so sweet. But what I really love about it, well, I love lots of things about it. I love all the various kinds of ocean imagery, but I do really love the fact that they work for pretty much anybody. I don't make cards very much for young children at the moment, at least. I don't have any grandchildren, and mine are grown up. And even my nieces and nephews are older now. But these are fantastic for children's cards. They're lovely for men's cards. Most men will enjoy at least some of the images and the papers in the collection. They're also brilliant for anybody, really. I mean, plenty of ladies would love this. Rosie's saying, so not snail mail. Right, I'm trying to work that one out, Rosie. There we go. So that's that one cut out. So you can see these turtles do cut out really quite quickly. They're quite easy to do. I think the jellyfish might be a challenge, but the turtles are dead easy. So let me get this layer down on my card. Belinda says she managed to get the scan and cut to cut out the various sizes of whale, but she hasn't tried the turtles with it yet. Yeah, the scan and cut looks to me like something that I would love the idea of. I do love the idea of it, but I'm not sure I would ever get to grips with it. I'm not awfully technically minded, and I think I'd be throwing it across the room before I got it to do what I wanted to. Rosie's got one, or got a version of it. Oh, Rosie, I don't like cutesy images. No, I don't really. The snail mail is not one that really appeals to me, although I know it's been enormously popular. Each to their own, I think. Right, so this one, I think I'm going to snip this frond off down there. I don't want two pieces that are exactly the same. They're not, I could have done them as mirror images, but I haven't. And actually the embossing is mirror imaged, so that's no good. If I'd thought about that, I could have embossed that one that way, and then I'd have mirror images, but I haven't. So I'm going to put that one over here, but I'm going to add a frond, and then it won't look exactly like the one the other side. I'll add it in there, I think. Down there, yeah, I think that's the answer. And so where am I going to put my turtles? Jenny's here. Hi Jenny, nice to have you. So what's nice about the seaweed is that you can actually kind of get your turtle swimming over or between it. I think that's quite fun. Right, let's go with that. Rosie's going to have to try to sell it to me as it's her display stamper one. Ah, so Rosie is a demonstrator and she's going to be doing a display for us at a training event we've got coming up, a virtual training event, I hasten to add. I will really look forward to seeing that, Rosie, because as I say, I don't have it, and it's not one of those that jumped off the pages of the catalogue for me, although I have customers that it did exactly that for. There we go. I don't think I stuck my green. Did I stick my green layer down? Yes, I did. That's all right. Then it's not going to move around on me. Couldn't remember there. Do you get this feeling of deja vu when you're crafting and it feels like you've done something before? I had that earlier today. It was very strange. So Belinda says she's been very slow to get going with her scan and cut, but she can see it has potential, especially with her arthritic hands. Yes, I'm sure. Right, Mary, you said don't I ever get gluey? Yes, my fingers are now gluey, officially gluey. Right, let's get this little turtle on. I'm going to put him over here. Quite like them sitting at slightly different angles. He's on an uneven surface, so give him a chance to really get stuck down. And this one, I think I want to have that turtle behind the seaweed, so I'm going to try and remember not to stick that top part of the seaweed down before I've slid the turtle in. Right, so I've left that little bit there sticking up, although the glue is on the back. And I'm going to slide the turtle in and then stick down the rest of the weed. There we are. Belinda's looking forward to seeing Rosie's snail mail stamps. Did I not glue that flap, or maybe I just didn't put enough glue on it? Flap, it's a flipper, sorry, turtle. There we go. So that's my turtles on there. I think 2 is fine. And I've now got a piece of card I'm going to bring in for a sentiment. Yeah, that side I think probably. So in the stamp set, the Well Done stamp set, there's this one, hoping all your birthday fishes come true. I quite like a pun. So I'm going to stamp that one on. Rosie says during her class the only thing she had to clean her hands with was furniture polish. Funnily enough, not great on glue. I'm impressed that you have furniture polish in your craft room, Rosie. I know I've got some furniture polish somewhere in the house. I do not have any in my craft room. There we are, hoping all your birthday fishes come true. And I'm going to do the same with this as I did with the previous one. Sometimes I leave them as rectangles, but I do quite like little flag ends or banner ends. So I've cut off the excess. And once again, I'm just going to mark, using my grid paper, the centre point. I'm actually going to use this centre cross here. That will be easier on this particular measurement. So I've just made a dent with my scissors. I could have made a pencil mark, but a dent with my scissors just to mark where the centre is. Then I'm going to snip in on that mark and then snip from each point to the initial first snip, and that gives me a beautifully symmetrical banner. Rosie cleaned her studio before class, that's why she had furniture polish in there. Well, I'm impressed, Rosie. I'm often impressed with you, and I'm particularly impressed that you've polished your craft studio. Right, now I'm going to have to stand up and reach my dimensionals, which I can't get otherwise. There we go. I didn't think I was going to use dimensionals, but I've decided I am. So that's my banner. I'm going to pop some dimensionals on the back. I've got so many layers on here now. I've got all the dimensional embossing, and then I've got the seaweed, which this banner is also going to rest over the top of. So I think up on dimensionals it's going to work better. I use a lot of dimensionals. If you're sitting at home and going, how many of those has she put on that tiny piece of card? Because I don't want this to get squashed if it ends up going in the post. So there we are. And I might just stamp some little fish. Shall I? No, I won't. No, I'm not going to stamp fish. I am just going to leave that with that on there, which I will glue together later. But I will just pop one of these turtles on the envelope because I've got an extra one there, and I think as long as I stick him down nicely, I don't think he'll come off in the post. Rosie says, does she get a gold star? You absolutely do, Rosie. You get a gold star. Happy to give you one for polishing your craft room. And Triana says, when they moved house, they found 10 cans of furniture polish, a job she hates doing, but apparently she enjoys buying furniture polish. That's so funny. Rosie's saying she's concerned about her ideas for her project when she's doing our display stamper, and she's worried about the technology. You will be great, Rosie. If you can run a class using the technology, you can absolutely run the display stamper thing. But if you want to run through what you're going to do technology wise with me beforehand or anything else, just let me know. I'm happy to help. So that is that card. I've still got some little bits and pieces left over here, which I will keep because they will probably be the beginning of something else. So let me put those down. And that's my little turtle card. Belinda agrees that Rosie won't be in the shadows. If you don't know Rosie's projects, they're always absolutely beautiful. Rosie says it's a shame the rest of her house hasn't seen any polish for a long time. I think housework is such a complete waste of time because no sooner have you done it than it needs doing again. Much better to not do it in the first place, I think. Right, let me quickly clean these stamps. Rosie's saying, yes, please just get in touch with me, Rosie, when you're ready, and we'll set a time. Okay, so I've done two cards, one flower, one non-flower, and the last one I'm going to do is also flowers. So let me quickly bring in the bits. It's just gone 3, so I'm overrunning, but then never mind. I try and keep this to an hour, but sometimes I don't know what I say to fill the time, but the time just seems to go. If you have to go, then of course I understand, and you can always catch up on the rest of it later. So I've got some different colours here and some different bits and pieces. So this time I'm using the Fine Art Floral patterned paper, and actually I shouldn't really have got my bits out before I showed you the paper, should I? I should probably lose half of those now. This paper is absolutely stunning. It's actual oil paintings turned into paper. It's really beautiful. So this is the one that I'm using for my card today, which might not on the excuse me, at an initial look like something you'd want to cut out, but actually it's fine. This is another pattern. You can see I've been enjoying chopping these up. I should try and find you some whole sheets, really. That would make life easier for you, wouldn't it? There we go. So this one, there is a die which will fit these flowers, or you can hand cut them. There we go. That's a whole sheet of the one that I'm using. This one is a whole sheet pattern, but when you cut it up to make card fronts, it looks equally beautiful, as does this one. And you can see they're just the most beautiful paintings of flowers. And then on the back, that one has a pattern overlaid on painting, as does this one. This is kind of done the other way, I think. It's got paint over the top. So these are beautiful background patterns. Really, really beautiful. So I just cut out some of those flowers, and I have done these already, so I don't have to cut these out to show you. So that's a flower spray there, and I also cut out a little kind of spriggy bit as well, because some of the pattern is big and some is small, which I think I'll probably stick onto the insert. And then I've got an oddment here which is just going to fit the envelope flap, which is always nice. I've got a Flirty Flamingo base, which is one of the colours featuring in the flowers. And then I've embossed a piece of white card with the, I've written it down because I can never remember the names, Painted Texture embossing folder. So we live in a house that was built in the 1970s, and we've got rid of most of it, but quite a lot of the walls had this kind of artexy texture on them. I know it's common on ceilings, but lots of our walls were done like it too. And this reminds me a little bit of that, but it also echoes the pattern on some of the paper I've just shown you. So it's as if someone has brought in either a brush or a palette knife with some really thick paint and just slathered it on. Beautiful. So I'm going to attach that straight away to my layer. Rosie says that's a lot of fussy cutting. The scan and cut would definitely not do that. It didn't take me long, Rosie, and actually the thing with this paper in particular is because it's quite an, I don't know, it doesn't have an exact outline to it. It's been painted in quite a loose fashion, so actually it doesn't really matter how you cut it out. I did cut one bit off at one point and thought, oh, should I have left that there? But I don't think it matters. Oh, that is not at all straight. Let me try that one again. I realised that just before the glue set, luckily. Concentrate on what you're doing, Sally. Okay, let's try again. I think that's better. All right, and really I don't think I need to do an awful lot with this card. I'm just going to pretty much lay that on the front, I think, and add some little, I've got some gold faceted gems which I really like. I'm going to add some of those. I'm not even going to ask you if you think it needs it. I'm just going to put them on there. Okay, so I like multi-purpose glue better than any of our other adhesives for this kind of sticking, because I can just wiggle it into all those little tiny areas on the cutout. I'm trying hard not to use too much. I don't need to cover the whole of the paper with it because it's really strong. I just need to make sure that all the little flappy bits are going to be held down. And I think this cutout will go pretty much any way up this way, up the other way, or even sideways, but I'm going to go with it this way. There we are. And that really covers my whole card front beautifully. Rosie says I'm a rebel. I really am, Rosie. I'm not at all a rebel. If you know me well, you'll know I'm about the least rebellious person there is. I'm a real conformist. I follow rules, I follow signs, I follow directions. I never go into somewhere if the door says out. My husband laughs at me. But yes, there you go. What am I doing now? I was going to put a stamped banner on here. I got some bits of card, but I'm not, now I've got that stuck down. I don't know if I want to or not. What do you think? Does this need a banner on there with some words, or just leave it plain and stamp the insert? I think I'm veering towards just stamping the insert, but tell me what you think. Rosie says I'm like her. Yeah, I really am. Right, while you're thinking about that, I'm going to stick this little flower onto the insert. Oops, I'm moving everything around. Let me leave that in the middle. You tell me if it needs a banner. And meanwhile, I'm just going to stick this little bud and bloom down the bottom there. Lorraine says no, leave it plain. Rosie says no. Belinda says just the insert. Right, thank you. Perfect. Gosh, we're all so in accordance with each other, aren't we? Okay, stick that down. Lots of votes for this kind of glue. I've gone slightly over the edge there, and I think I'm just going to snip that off on the back. My scissors are now gluey, but never mind, I can clean them. Yeah, Rosie says a banner would spoil it. I think you're right, Rosie. I'm not going to put a banner on there. Right, so let's stamp something in here. And I think actually I'm going to use Am I going to use, yes I am, I'm going to use the thank you stamp that comes with the set, if I can find it. Put that somewhere safe on my desk. Can't find it, never mind, I've got another one here. Let's use that. This is the thank you stamp from Well Said, which is a really big stamp set with words for pretty much everything in it. I have this one out as well, so I'll use this one because I can't find the one from the stamp set that actually coordinates with the paper. I know it's here because I've just used it, but I don't know where it went. So I've used Flirty Flamingo ink for that. And I'm going to pop that inside and then quickly pop some paper on my envelope, and then I'm done. 3 cards. Bam, bam, bam. So I hope I've given you some ideas. And I hope you might have a look at your paper collection with new eyes, or maybe even think you're going to add to it, because paper's lovely, isn't it? And the thing about our sets of paper is you get at least 2 of every single design, which means that you can keep one to stroke and you can use one. Or is it only me who strokes paper? All right, let's get some glue on this envelope flap. It's nearly time for a new bottle of glue as well. Sharon says she has a friend who's not in the best of health and she sends her cards every now and then. She doesn't put sentiments on them as she puts them in a frame. Oh, that's so lovely. Well, I'm not surprised because your cards are lovely, Sharon. And she obviously really appreciates them. And if they're in a frame, she can just look at them all the time, can't she? There we are. So I turned this up the other way because that bit here that I've cut out for something else was going to mean that it didn't fit the flap, but it does now. So I'm just then turning it over, trimming around the envelope flap. It's so quick and easy to do this, and it makes it look so pretty. And this scrap was very slightly too shallow, so I am actually going to also trim the envelope flap very slightly. If you can see, lay it on that for some contrast. There's just a tiny little bit of white envelope showing there. So instead, I'm just going to trim that tiny little bit off. It probably doesn't really notice, but I just want it all to fit neatly. There we go, that's better. So that's my envelope, that's my card, and it just needs the promised gold gems. I've got it upside down, there we go. I thought that doesn't look like the card as I remembered it. I'm scattering again. I think this really is my new thing, scattering gems. So that is that card finished. I'm going to lay out the cards for you. I'm also going to add an extra light just before I do that. So bear with me as I walk away from this to the other side of the room. There. Hopefully you will notice a difference. So let me bring back the other cards I made. Lots of love going on for Sharon's beautiful cards, and not surprisingly. There. I'm just going to wait for my iPad to catch up and see if those are all in shot. I hope they are. I think they are just about. So there we are, 3 cards all using cutouts from patterned paper. I hope very much that this has inspired you to look at your patterned paper a little bit differently. And I always love to see any photographs of things you make, so do send them to me. Or if you're in my paper crafters group, that's for my customers that do my classes, just pop a picture in there. You know how we love to see what everybody is doing. If you're not a member of that class, but you come to my classes and you'd like to be a member of that group, I should say, let me know and I will add you. So Rosie's loving them. Thank you, Rosie. I'm very pleased. 3 very different cards, but I've really enjoyed making them. Now, what are we going to be doing next week? You're asking yourself. I know you are. So I'll be back here again this time next Friday, and I'm going to do the first one in a series of how-to classes, and I'm going to be covering how to ink your ink pads or re-ink your ink pads. So that will just be a very quick how-to. It might be a reminder, it might be something you don't even need, but I should be including that. And then I'm going to be making some Z-fold cards, which is one of my favourite styles. I do really like those. So I'm looking forward to seeing you next week at 2 o'clock. I hope you have a lovely weekend. Lee's here. Hi Lee, it's lovely that you've joined us, and I'm about to say goodbye to you, which is a bit sad, but I hope you'll be able to watch the replay. Have a lovely weekend, everybody, and thanks so much for joining me. I usually turn the camera up at this point, don't I, actually, to say a proper goodbye. Let me do that. Cover over the lens. Turn off things that turn me into an Australian presenter. And hopefully, when I take off the post-it note, I will be up the right way and round the right way. Let's see. Hopefully I am. Got it a little bit low, I think, but hopefully that will do the trick, so I can just say thank you and goodbye. I don't know what your plans are for the weekend. Oh, let me move that. There we go. I'm going to be doing some of my online art course on Sunday, if I can get all my chores done tomorrow. Whatever you do, have a lovely weekend. Stay dry. I think tomorrow's going to be horrible. And thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.